Okay, I'd like to call the December 4th, 2025 Shoreline RFA Board of Commissioner meeting to order. Could you please stand and join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move to public comment. Anybody in the room? No. Virtual, do we have public comment?
Yeah.
Yes. Got it?
Nice start.
Hold on. You ready? Okay. Could you please state your name and city of residence?
J.C. Valenzuela Kenmore.
And are you representing any organization or are you just representing yourself?
I'm representing neighbors.
All right, Ms. Valenzuela, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm contacting the RFA in regards to the difference between the service agreement for Kenmore with Shoreline and now the RFA. And one of the things that we are seeing is that there's a difference with Medic One. And we know and have had for a long time to where the aid cards were standard at Kenmore and at Lake Forest Park. However, we started hearing from residents that they are receiving invoices of $1,500 for services that some of them should have had it free. And with our seniors and those with disabilities, they panic. And so now a lot of our residents are not calling for aid because they don't want to pay $1,500 bill. And in fact, we lost a couple neighbors because they did not call. And it's very sad to us. And I know that we also have a neighbor that has worked through, and I don't know if he sent the email in regards to the difference of what used to happen when Medic One would service Kenmore and when it's not. And so this is a big crisis in regards to our seniors, and we are heavy on seniors. And we don't like to lose our neighbors because they're afraid to call and get help and get to the hospital in time. So anything you do with that, also the AED machines and putting them locally at different stations around the city so that when heart attacks happen, people can use them. That's another advantage. And I don't know if you have those capabilities, but those are a couple things that we would really appreciate knowing exactly what is going on with this billing when there is not the outside company used. And if Medic One is free, we need to make sure our residents are educated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valenzuela. Chief, do you want to take an opportunity to respond and explain, or should we just move on?
I can just briefly address a couple of things. Our transport policy has not changed in many years. In Kenmore, there's been no change in our transport policy or our intent to transport as many of our own residents, to local hospitals and all that. We do ask for reimbursement from insurance companies for those transports to help us fund that extra service that we provide. In regards to the public access defibrillators, which I believe is what Ms. Valenzuela is referring to, we do partner up. Excuse me. We do partner up when we can and try and get grants to help those public facilities, those buildings. It's typically on them to provide pads. But we do try to partner as much as we can with getting grants and so forth. And we are tracking where those locations are so we can put it into pulse point so that if there is an event, that people know that there is a local pad available. Public access defibrillator, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I
address this. Is that okay?
It's your meeting.
Go ahead.
I would just also offer, so prior to the RFA, or prior to the initial contract for service with Shoreline, the North Shore Fire Department servicing Kenmore Lake Forest Park did not provide transport. All transports were done by private ambulance, which is at least a third, if not a half, again, more expensive than transport by the fire department. I know because I see those invoices in my day job. So the benefit to the citizens is transport by the fire department for roughly 2/3 to half the cost of private ambulance, and only insurance is billed. You should not be receiving personal invoices for those charges. And in addition to that, transport by the Medic One medics has always been and continues to be free of charge.
Thank you. I should have been more clear. I mean, it hasn't changed in like the last 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, from the ILA to the RFA, it didn't change.
Correct.
But prior to the ILA, 4 years ago, yeah, that is correct.
So if there's something happening in the community, if people are seeing invoices that they shouldn't, then you know that should be brought forward, and we can take a look at that, see what's happening, or at least provide some communication and education on what's happening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pratt. All right, we'll move on to Doug Lozier. Do you have anything, Doug?
Nothing today, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Okay, consideration of the agenda. Anything, Chief?
No, thank you.
Anybody else have anything? All right, we will move on then to approval of the past minutes. Does everybody have a chance to read November 20th, 2025 minutes?
The only thing that popped out at me is it indicates that Commissioner Byers, myself, and Commissioner Pratt were via Zoom. And I think that our last meeting that was at North Shore, we were all there in person.
Can you hold that thought for just a minute?
Sure.
Commissioner? Sorry, what was the? Okay, one more time.
So the only correction I have to the minutes is that the minutes for the last meeting, November 20th, indicates that Commissioner Byers, myself, and Commissioner Pratt were attending via Zoom, but we were all actually in person.
Well, it says that we were at 61. Reality.
And it says 61, and I
We
was
were
at
at
51 as well, yeah. Yeah.
Josh, were you in attendance? in
Yes.
the meeting?
Yeah. Commissioner Byers, Commissioner Admin, and I were all in attendance at the November.
Do you have those corrections, Beatrice?
Yeah, I just changed that they did not attend Zoom, attended in person,
Okay.
and
And
it's supposed to be at
50 minutes.
And I'm sorry that I distracted her during this interrupted. One of the questions I had was, we didn't do a roll call, and I wasn't sure if she was manually tracking who was here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
we
in case there was a,
haven't done roll call for a long time.
I mean, if we want to start to just implement that again in case.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody that takes over for Beatrice, then we'll make sure that they know.
okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other corrections, we'll assume that the meeting minutes are declared approved and move on. Correspondence, Chief, anything?
No.
Okay. Standing agenda warrants, motion to approve.
I'll move to accept disbursements in the amount of $390,122.76.
The motion by Commissioner Harris, do we have a second?
I'll second.
And seconded by Commissioner Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Looks like we need to reapprove the voucher or the warrants for November 6, 2025. There was a correction. You have a motion?
I move to accept the revised disbursements in the amount of $2,583,460.53 for the November 6, 2025 board meeting warrant voucher approval. I'll second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Evelyn and seconded by Commissioner Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Commissioners report. Does anybody have anything? Nothing? Lisa, Rick, nothing?
I'll make one comment. The repair on the microphone is working wonderfully. Thank you very much.
It's the USB connection. It wasn't us. Well, it was us, but.
Okay, now financial report as of now. Statistics report are in January. Strategic activity report, anything, Chief?
A couple things, and I believe that Chief Hochstein will elaborate a little bit on it, but the HVAC repairs and generator work that's going on at 57 is progressing. Late this afternoon, I did get, like, literally at about 4:45 or so, I got confirmation from PERC that they're in receipt of the union's confirmation of the description on our admin staff requesting to join the non-uniform group. So I believe, fingers crossed, that it'll start moving forward at this point.
Okay, good.
So, and we've had our second executive leadership team meeting, which has gone well.
So, okay. Moving on to the RFA activity reports. Let's start with Chief Cowan. I'm waiting for a page 3.
I can do that. I can make that happen. I'm only doing the noteworthy meetings.
And this final report from the county, it said the average is 9.57. That's our entire,
Correct.
all of Kenmore and here.
Correct. Everything's merged into one. It bumped up at the very last minute by a bit, which it dropped our equivalent levy rate from $1.55 to $1.529 as well. Approximately.
Overall, how much disparity is, if you look at the beach area versus here versus there versus there.
For the AV?
Yeah, how,
that's a good question.
how wild are they?
It's not so much how much it changes, like between the unit or between those areas, as more of it changes when they do the physical assessment. And they rotate every 3 years, at least through Shoreline every 3 years. They'll do the west, the central, and the east, and then they'll do the west, the central, and the east. And the ones that they do a physical assessment on typically fluctuates quite a bit more than the ones that are just done off of sales data and so forth. It's kind of interesting, to see that. This year I did not track the differences because everything was homogenized across everything, so I didn't really track that. I'd really need to go into the area reports. I can look to see what they have in the area reports if you want to for the next meeting.
More curiosity.
So
Seems to vary, like one section seems to get a lot harder than the others one year, and then the next year
it's probably that physical, it's probably that one of what I just mentioned, is probably that physical assessment that they're doing. That definitely makes a bigger swing,
I just
up or down.
saw an article today that said that the AV, I guess for lack of a better term, in the city of Seattle dropped 10%
It dropped
last year.
10%.
So value of properties took a 10% hit.
That doesn't surprise me entirely.
So we're not Seattle.
And
I think that's a good thing.
Thanks. Anything else for Chief Allen?
Yeah, how did the meeting go with the finance manager? Awful.
It went well. We had an initial meeting to talk some high-level strategic stuff. We talked a little bit about the overall budget there and the pieces that may or may not need to be included that would be more of a city Bothell expense and so forth. And then he followed that up with some revenue projections for 2026. I need to, in fact, I'm planning on working on it tomorrow to try and dive into it a little bit deeper. I am going to have some follow-up questions for him for sure. But my goal is to, sometime next week have a very high-level gross analysis of saying this is about what the impacts are going to be before and after for the RFA, before and after for the city, which will translate into the before and after for the residents, taxpayers of Bothell. So then I can, and as long as we are both in agreement, his name's Quan, both Quan and I, if we're both in agreement on that, and then come back and present to the board and the city council those numbers to see if there's continued interest in moving forward. That's the big fork in the road. Roughly about $18 million is the expense side for the Bothell Fire.
Have they done any polling with their citizens to see if this is viable?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The council has been briefed on it, but they're waiting for this decision, if we're going to move forward before they really start doing much more outreach. I believe that they're still planning on discussing this at the retreat early next year, and what's expected out of that is a decision, assuming that the financial side of it is good, a decision to go, no go would be coming out of that retreat.
So can I follow up with that? So is this just a discussion of go, no go, mean they'd be looking at joining the RFA, or would they be looking at like a contract for service, or how's that decision-making process taking place about what they want to do?
That's a good question too. There would be some different options on the table. Our preference is the RFA because it's the most efficient. But if that was not supported either financially or something, we would reevaluate what our continued relationship would look like, which could take on a couple of different forms and require us to take different steps, to give us better continuity, for beyond, say, 2026 especially. So I wouldn't want to hazard a guess as to what that part looks like. We're going to be really focusing on the RFA, and then if that isn't doable, then do we continue the relationship, or do we sever the relationship and go back to a standalone or something like that? I think there's a lot of good momentum, and there's some good indications that this would be effective, but I don't want to make that assumption until I have some numbers in front of me and I can speak to it from the financial side of things.
Sure. Is this group going to have any input into that decision-making process, or is it strictly a Bothell decision?
No. This is, in fact, this board has the primary, choice on this. I'm going to do the financial analysis, and then I'll come back and to the board and present all that, and then it'll be a board decision, to either, invite or move forward or not, and then it would go to the city council to do the same thing, and assuming that. And if they still believe that if our board says yes, they say yes, then it would be a matter of deciding to put it on a ballot and the timing of that, which our indications are the best timing on this would probably be next August.
Yeah, when would we be having that input process? Or basically, my thought is it would be worth, I don't know that this is the perfect time to have this discussion, but I feel like there could be some benefit to considering a possible contract for service first, just to demonstrate.
You mean a full service contract like
Yeah,
the North Shore?
exactly, just because that would demonstrate the integrated model before voters had to vote on, such a tax increase.
And there's benefits, and maybe that would be a good conversation when I come back to talk about what that looks like. There's some, the short version on this is that there's some benefits and there's pros and cons to any one of these, depending on how you want to look at it. We did learn some lessons in the North Shore full services ILA that again, there's pros and cons to it. Doing a full service ILA, it would actually be more workload and more difficult than joining the RFA. So we would have to be intentional about what that looks like, and not as much efficiencies, in doing that versus the RFA. And so the question that I would ask would be, okay, what is the reasons for doing one over the other, the pros and cons of weighing those, to make sure that we're making the right decision. So it's part of probably a bigger conversation, that we need to prepare for.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to have the board have opportunity to have that discussion before it gets too far down the road.
Yeah, I mean, the next point would be to determine whether or not there's financial viability, and if there is, then we can start having some of these other conversations and try to figure out the rest of it. So.
Is there anything else for Chief Allen?
Just when was that retreat that they'll be making their decision?
It's early next year. I'm not sure when. What we have targeted though is that we would like a decision by March 1st assuming everything's moving forward, March 1st from the council, so that they can commit to a ballot measure, so that we can prepare all that for the ballot. And to your point, the education piece, the outreach and all that to the citizens and the engagement that has to happen.
It just seems like if they're going to make a decision in March, we have to have the discussion, and they have to have the discussion about the pros and cons of different, otherwise it seems like it's just going to sort of happen with its own inertia without any input if they're just considering one thing.
And I can share with you the pros and cons. I've done it. I thought I did share it with you. If I haven't, I'll send you the options that I originally identified to them late this last summer, and it has some of the pro cons. It's very high level. I'll send that to you all though, so that you can see.
Yeah, I think to Commissioner Adam's point, I think the timeline seems really tight, right? And in terms of we haven't had that discussion internally. They are making a decision on whether or not they want to move forward with a ballot measure in March. And there hasn't been any, to Commissioner Nye's point, like community outreach, public meetings, community education, right? Like that stuff needs to start happening if we're going to put a ballot on the ballot in August.
If we're doing outreach and so forth, then we're committing to a direct. I need to get this done. I need to get the financial analysis done so we can have that part, and so that we can continue on with the conversation or not, and then determine what path we're going to look at moving forward with. Because we can't do any community outreach until we have a path, what our positions are, the information and so forth. We need to develop that messaging, both for us, but even more importantly, for Bob, because they're the ones that are going to be voting on this. If we are moving forward, then they have to define what that outreach looks like and so on. I know that they're very interested in making sure that they have that outreach, but and that's why we're also looking at having a decision by March, so you have the rest of spring and summer before the August ballot measure to make sure that we have the meetings and we have whatever messaging that we have to have. So to make sure everybody's informed.
Well, once you have the financial piece done, maybe we should have a special meeting to sit down and look at this and hash it out. Sounds good. Okay, there's nothing else for Chief Powell. Let's move on to Chief Hookstein's report. Good pictures for, oh,
Just some pictures or samples of the floor cleaning in 51 down lower. And this is some of the generator work that is taking place. Generator and HVAC work taking place.
thank you.
Yeah, Chief Hookstein, where exactly is that picture taken, that generator location? Is it on the back side of the building or is it on the front side of the building?
Yeah, the one with the top right picture is the back of the station, east side. So there's a near the trash dumpster going into the back bay door there. You can see the green louver against the wall there. That's the ventilation from the existing generator room. So those conduits going up the building back there on the back side of the station.
It's kind of on the back corner where the old generator is or was.
Yep. Out of sight. The picture below that is the ceiling showing the conduit that they're putting in the bay, running from basically where that exterior conduit comes into the building and then goes across the back bay through the ceiling to the mechanical and electrical room up above the offices downstairs. That's just and then you can see the picture to the left of that showing some of that conduit coming into the second floor mechanical room. So, you know, we just Anders was taking some pictures and shared with you. I thought I'd just throw some on there. Hopefully that's not more confusing than it's worth. We just had an update on the generator project and the HVAC project today. The generator timeline on my report is now out of date. When I put it in there on Monday or Tuesday morning, it's out of date. So we just had an updated schedule for the generator project. The generator is actually being placed on site on December 29th now. There was a delay in getting the generator, and then we needed to just avoid the holiday. So there's a crane coming in on the 29th to drop the generator in place. And then over the month of January is all the items you see on the list, including moving over to temporary generator for a little bit with the electrical shutdown, and then changing over to the new transfer switch equipment and so forth. So this project is scheduled as of today for a final building and closeout of February 10th. But as we know, these projects can kind of have a life of their own. So I will try and keep you updated with that. The HVAC met with the HVAC company today. We are excited that the next week and the week after, the next 2 weeks, they'll be doing a lot of the work interior, putting all the new HVAC units in the ceiling. And that will cause some disruptions in the station, but operations and I are working together to mitigate those, along with support services staff on the crews. So I'll be sending an email out tomorrow to the shifts just to update them on what to expect and when the HVAC company will be doing work in specific rooms within the station. So.
Anything else for Chief Hookstein? Moving on to Chief Orms.
Yeah, be out in a minute.
Can I ask one question back to Chief Hookstein?
I'm done.
So we haven't gone.
Station 62. What are the quotes for?
Station 62,
Sign.
quotes you said?
Sign quotes.
Kurt, it's for the piece of property we own next to 62. I just sometimes refer to 62, meaning the education center, and the building that we own to the west. So as you know, that building had two businesses in it, a pizza restaurant and a dog groomer. The pizza restaurant did close down more than a year ago. Unfortunately, the sign in front of the building for the last year plus still says pizza restaurant. And so we're trying to get that replaced. They've given the opportunity to the groomer there to put their logo or sign up as a replacement versus just a blank on that sign. So we're working through what some quotes would be for that and sharing those with the business owner there.
Okay.
Did we get
Sounds
the
reasonable.
structure of the bathroom?
What's that? Just sounds reasonable.
The deck area, not still on the to-do list.
Jay, it's on the list.
It's on the list. It's on the list.
Yeah, you guys can see. Okay, now moving on to the chief forms. Anybody have anything for chief forms? I've got a couple of questions. Are mannequins have teeth? You're kidding.
No, they're pretty sophisticated mannequins.
Well, for the price of paying for new teeth, I assume so. Okay, I want to make sure I was reading that voucher right. And then check the dose subscription fee.
Yeah, I would have to confirm, actually, Commissioner Edmund might know, I'd have to confirm with Commissioner Kess, but it's he can add the information.
It's a medical math drug dose app that paramedic developed to make medical math easy. So if you're administering like a medicine with a certain drip rate and concentration or something, it's easy to figure it out with this app.
You mean Jay and I memorized all that years ago for nothing?
There's an app for that.
Yeah, I think they used to use the tape.
Like every.
Okay, that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything for chief forms? All right, moving on to old business. Resolution 2518 is back.
So I wanted to thank Commissioner Pratt and Evelyn and Byers for meeting with me to talk about the post-employment medical program. We came up with some different topics of conversation and thoughts on this, and to see if there was a way to move forward with the current program. I had a brief conversation with the union as to whether there was an opportunity there, and I think that there's a consensus that, and I don't want to speak for please speak, Rod or Josh, but I think there's a consensus by both the subcommittee and by the union that obviously that there's benefit to the employees, but there also needs to make sense from a cost standpoint and potentially have some cost sharing. And so with the reluctance to open up the contract at this point, I think that our options is to give notice to end the post-employment medical benefits program, but take the opportunity over the next 2 years before the 3 years is up to develop a new plan, a new program that is something that both sides can weigh in on, negotiate it, or be able to defend. So I'll kick this over to the two of you. I don't know
I was going to say.
is Tyler's in the waiting room. For any one of you guys to add, that was my perspective at least.
Josh, do you have anything to?
Yeah, I think that the chief summed it up pretty well. We had a pretty robust conversation. I think that all three of the commissioners were interested in trying to find a way to preserve it in a way that's financially responsible. And so we directed the chief to go back to the union and offer to reopen the CBA. they were unwilling to do that apparently. And so we all think that, in that scenario, it's best policy to move forward with the resolution as it is, but recognizing that we want to continue to push forward some type of a program that provides for our firefighters in retirement to meet the needs of their medical expenses. So whether or not it looks like this or there's something else, we've got this kind of 3-year off ramp to figure something out, but we need to figure something out that is financially sustainable.
Ron, do you have anything to add?
No, I just think but he's said it right. I'm just thinking, we need to say also that we're in agreement that we want the program to exist. We're not trying to sort of wipe everything out. We have to do it in a financially sustainable way on behalf of the citizens. So this gives us 3 years to work together collaboratively to come up with a new plan to do pretty much what this one was designed to do in the beginning and put it in play before it expires.
Tyler, I see you're back online. Do you have anything to add since you were on the committee?
I think they summed it up pretty good with what they're saying. For me, I feel like it is something that is important that we do. And I personally would like to have a plan moving forward before we ended the current plan. And that way, things, to me, in my brain, it makes more sense to have something that we're going forward to instead of just ending and hoping that it turns out good. But I do agree that it does need to change from its current form. But I'm not 100% sold that tonight's the night we should end it until we have a plan moving forward. But that's just where I'm at.
Did you guys talk about any type of plans, or of course the union's gonna have to be involved in it too a little bit.
Yeah, we did discuss outlines of plans. I don't know if this is the right forum to put those things out there. We just, with the one meeting, we said, what we need to determine first is, does the union have interest in keeping the program as it is? And if they do, we need to reopen the CBA and renegotiate some of the things that they negotiated into it. If they want to keep it, we're willing to look at that, but it needs to be more financially viable. And so we looked at, the possibility of maybe capping the outlay, and not having it tied to CPI going forward. Maybe reducing those numbers a little bit, adding the step raises back in for new personnel. Looking for ways to keep the program in place, but making it more sustainable. And then, so that was kind of like, are they willing to do that? And the answer came back, no, they weren't willing to do that. And so then, given that, we all agreed in that meeting that if they say no, then we need to work to find other ways to provide. Whether that's some type of investment vehicle or other program. I'm not fully up to speed on what's out there or what's even available, but the desire is there to make something happen.
And I'm not going to speak for Doug, but he has some interesting perspective, which he shared with me, which I actually kind of agree with some of that too. And then again, I would argue that this is probably not the best place to do this, because this is something that's a negotiable item that we should,
Right.
develop this. And we do have a couple of years before, our next contract negotiations will start in 27. So I'm not saying we wait till 27, but I'm saying we have a couple of years before this goes away entirely, and we may have an opportunity in actual negotiations to build something up again before it goes away entirely. So this takes away some of the time constraints and pressure of doing something immediately right now, especially with with what we're trying to do and trying to catch everybody up with retro pay and everything else that's going on.
So was the union, they're not on board with opening this right now? Were they on board with looking at this like maybe next year?
Oh, yeah, I'm, again, I can't speak for them, but yeah, I mean, they see the value of it and they want to, I believe that they would want to, you know, have something in place as well. What the terms are would be really you know, the term, that would be something that we'd have to negotiate to see if it's palatable for both sides, essentially. I can't speak for the union's, you know, position on this, but I do believe that there is interest in trying to figure out a path forward.
Well, from all the emails that I've received, I know that people don't want this to go away. And I can understand that. I can also understand the financial impact that this stuff is causing. I have no solutions at this point in time. Is everybody ready to vote one way or another on this?
I'm a little leery, same as Tyler, just in the fact that our bandwidth with Bothell looming and this seems like a pretty good workload. Well, to come up with a whole new plan to.
That's not, I mean, that won't be that hard. We just have to open it up and get in negotiations. I mean, as far as like developing
we're looking at, you know, revenue sources of possibly investing, having it sustain itself.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
but we don't have the time to do it before the end of the year, which we need to have this. We need to give notification that this is ending, so that we aren't financially liable for an additional year of this program.
I think the commissioner, my personal preference would be that this not be a program that is as a result of a commissioner resolution, but that this be something that is negotiated into the CBA. I agree. Right. And so if it's not in our hands, we don't have a ton of workload or responsibility except for to direct the chief to work on this in negotiations with.
And maybe that's what you were talking about, the workload before now and the end of the year.
I'm just talking about the workload, like your workload of Bothell and this in conjunction, trying to come up with a plan. Because I think we'd want to, or you and Doug would want to have something kind of cohesively in place before we're opening the next
contract.
We
have 2 years to.
Okay.
I mean, this one, if we give notice tonight, which is what I'm asking for, then it would end on December 4th of 2028. And we'll be in negotiations in 2027. I'm not saying we have to wait till 27, but it could be, I agree with, you know, there needs to be, you know, some kind of cost sharing on this, which means developing something that's going to be, you know, within a salary and benefits package or a subsidizing of or cost sharing or something. It'll have to be something that we will have to negotiate, and that'll take some time. I don't think this is super complicated compared to other things, but it's something that we will have to have and some open negotiations about. And if we are going to put it in the CBA, there has to be, you know, a commitment to open up the CBA.
So we're talking about putting this in the CBA. Last week we were talking about not putting it in the CBA and just keeping it as a resolution.
Well, in its current form.
Talking about modifying the resolution?
No, right now, no. In its current form, it's a resolution. It's a commissioner resolution, and that's the way it needs to remain until it's negotiated and we can open up the CBA and include it. Like I said, you know, we include it in the salary and benefits package, or we include it as a recognized perk or something that we would have to, from a cost sharing standpoint, and we'd have to, you know, make sure that it's financially viable as far as what the commitment is. So, and again, depending on how much sharing there is, affects what the monthly payout is and how good, how much viability there is. But that has, if we're gonna do any of those things, we have to open up the CBA and actually get into negotiations.
Commissioner Nye, I'm curious, you work for Bellevue, right?
Correct.
And they have an MEBT, right?
Correct.
And does that enter into subject to negotiation, or is that just a benefit to the city that is not a negotiated?
It's a benefit to the whole city.
Mhm.
Some of these things would, in my opinion, should be considered for a total cost of compensation package, though, the salary and benefits package. If it's something that is a benefit to the department, to the employees, then that's something that should be considered. I don't know if it's considered in, there's other departments that have other different programs, whether it's MEPT or this program or whatever, but typically it's considered in the salary and benefits package.
The MEBT is more similar to a deferred compensation investment vehicle.
We have deferred comp as well. So.
Yeah, it's above and beyond. I think Redmond has it, Bellevue has it.
Kirkland
has it.
The employer's just not making a contribution to a deferred comp.
And we have other things that we have that say Bellevue doesn't have.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to discuss all the vehicles right now, but just there's quite a range of options out there, it seems like.
Yeah.
I am with Commissioner Byers and Commissioner Nye that I'm not comfortable canceling this before something else is worked out. It just makes me a little nervous to just stop something and then hope that in the next couple years something can be worked out.
Except they're getting paid extra. So, I mean, if there was a misunderstanding, what was the misunderstanding? What
misunderstanding?
You thought the
are you referring to?
understanding was, we're gonna increase the sick buyback if we get rid of the post-medical benefits, but it doesn't sound like the union understood that. So
I believe that
did they
we were very
understand?
clear on multiple occasions about this. I don't believe there was a misunderstanding about our intention to end this. I don't believe there was any misunderstanding about us reverting back to the step raises that were before, or the intention on the 75%, or the other things that were negotiated with the position pays and other elements of the negotiations.
Rod, can I ask you a question? Were you there when this was discussed? You're part of negotiations, aren't you?
I can't hear
You are part of the negotiations committee. Were you there when this was discussed?
Probably at some of the time. As far as, I mean, this is a resolution. This item itself isn't part of the contract. Wasn't part of negotiation.
I guess where I'm going with this question is, did you hear this discussed? Were you under the impression that it was going to be dissolved or could be dissolved if these other things were? I'm trying to figure out where the confusion is.
I don't recall being at a time when this
was
sunset was
discussed.
discussed, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, I feel like we're being put in the middle here. I really do.
I would agree.
I don't know which direction to go. I don't want to see the program go away. I think it's a valuable program, but the way it's written with the contract, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, when the step raises, when they proposed to put this into the contract, the post-employment, and we discussed it. And it was an extraordinarily significant increase in what they were asking for the cost. And I said, I'm not interested in doing this because we're interested in removing the post-employment medical benefits program entirely. When they talked about the step raises and reverting back to the what's in the contract now from what we were doing, last year, I clearly stated that the only way that I would look at doing this is if there's an understanding that our intention would be to remove the post-employment medical benefits program.
I hear what you're saying. I just don't understand what the misinterpretation was. So.
I believe that you are correct and that you're in the middle of this because people don't want it to go away. But that doesn't make it that it wasn't an understanding or that it wasn't discussed.
Right.
We send Chief Callan to negotiate. He's our chief negotiator. I mean, and this is kind of like the first I've ever seen this where we're kind of undermining what he's negotiated.
But this is a
troubling.
commissioner resolution, so it shouldn't have been negotiated.
Well, I mean, maybe in the future, we need to look at how we negotiate contracts,
We're in an interesting situation in that this is a resolution, not something in the CBA
And
language.
the contract was kind of negotiated with it in mind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at that
I
too.
mean, and now we're paying,
Well,
how
we,
much are we willing to pay?
I'm with Tyler and Lisa. I wish there was something that was already in place to replace this. It's unfortunate that the union, for lack of a better term, is unwilling at this point in time to reopen this and negotiate and look at it. I feel like our hands are tied.
I have a question.
Tyler,
As far as if we were to postpone ending this tonight and spend a little bit more time looking into other options, what would be the downside of waiting? Like, what's the rush of doing it tonight?
We don't get it done by the end of the year, it's $1 million.
It's a good reason.
Because that's the cost of one more year commitment to the program.
In today's dollars.
that's a large chunk.
Potentially, worst case
Money.
scenario. It's the worst case scenario if somebody went for 12 years.
If 6 people went for 12 years.
So say that again, Chief. If we don't do it by the end of the year, it's a potential for $1 million, but it doesn't sunset for 3 more years. So there's gonna be, so doesn't matter if we don't end it for another 2 years.
Well, I think what he's saying is it's a calendar year basis.
It is
So
3
each-
years.
Each calendar year that you continue the program is a new batch of employees who are in the program. So it would be not the next 3 years are gonna happen regardless. It would be that 4th year if we.
Right, but we're not in danger of incurring that 4th year for another 2 years.
Well, if we didn't make a vote this evening,
That's not how this is written.
then basically that next
Kind of
3 years, it would still be, basically we're adding a year to the program.
But if we come up, if they come up with something to put in the contract, they could say that would nullify this.
The 3 years, potentially, I guess. But it would depend, probably not, because the program the way it is now is likely to be better, to the employee than what we will come up with, which is an increased cost sharing. So anybody that, so they will want to keep the next 3 years, the way it is. And for the, whatever we negotiate, like, I can't guarantee this, but it would likely be to extend beyond the 3 years. But it would depend on it would depend on how it's designed. If there's some cost sharing, maybe that's part of the negotiations, process. But again, I can't speak for the union. I can't even speak on this because we don't have a position, on this, whether it would be part of the total cost of compensation, whether we look at MEBT or, I mean, there could be all sorts of different things.
I think it's important to remember that we offered to the union to reopen the CBA and work on this and negotiate it back in, and they weren't interested. So, I mean, that was for us.
To open it to include it as an article?
What's that?
To open it to include it as an article?
To open it up, to renegotiate the contracts in order to maintain this program. Right, so if they wanted to maintain this program, we needed to have some concessions within the contract. And because to have everything they negotiated in and this was, right? So we're like, okay, this is important. We value this. I valued it. It's like, I want our firefighters to have this, but we need to have some concessions. And they didn't want to reopen the contract.
It's surprising you actually considering this as a risk that they didn't want to.
Well, again, I'm not going to speak for the union. They had some legitimate reasons as to why they didn't want to reopen it too, but again, I'm not going to speak for them. That I understand, why they didn't. And frankly, it would be very complicated right now with everything else going on with the retro and all that to our finance division to do anything. We could punt on some of the impacts on this, but they're underwater right now, with trying to manage, all the complexity of the retro and all that. So I was not super excited about it either, to be honest. I'd rather us, take some pressure off this, develop a program that is more of an equitable cost sharing. Because right now the burden is all on our newest firefighters. The savings right now is on the newest firefighters. And some of them have paid into this and aren't gonna, if this program doesn't continue, they will not see that benefit. And so there are probably other ways to do this that is more equitable across the entire organization. Again, I'm not speaking from a position on this for the union or for the administration.
I would say that I'm confident that if we're all committed to encouraging the chief to work this out with the union, that we want something for them in post-retirement, that we can accomplish that. Right, because it's that we're giving direction to the chief that this is important to us, this is important to our firefighters, we want this to happen.
Can we all be in agreement with that statement? Tyler says yes. Lisa, Rick, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. But in the meantime, what do we do with this?
Well, the resolution that's in front of you, or the motion in front of you, is to change the resolution, to put the 3-year timer on, and to change for 2027 the CPI, which we have to do regardless, with 2.7% effective January 1. The language change really is at the middle of the second page. terminated effective December 14th.
This is a wonderful benefit. It's just too bad it got so distorted.
You want a motion and you can vote up or
Well,
down?
Rod's still kind of looking, so I was gonna give you another one, Rod. All right, do we have a motion for resolution 2518?
I move to authorize the governing board of commissioners to sign and adopt resolution 25-18 post-employment medical benefits coverage.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Commissioner Webster.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion. Well, haven't we beat this up enough? Do we need to beat it up some more?
Well,
Discussion?
I'm all in the format.
I want to make sure everybody's ready to vote one way or another.
I'll make a comment before we
Sure.
vote.
Tyler?
I think that fundamentally that it's our responsibility to ensure that these guys have some sort of retirement plan in place that to cover these costs, because it is expensive, and it's not expensive just for the department, but it's also expensive for these individuals that have retired, who have given their bodies and their minds to serving the citizens of this fire district. So I think it's important for us to really be thoughtful in how we treat them post-retirement. That's for keeping them for retention. That's for their motivation to stay good employees throughout the time, to know that they're covered at the end. I think it's something that none of us would even hesitate, that each one of our soldiers that goes and serves in the military has medical coverage for their whole life. And the fact that we don't have it here, it's just part of the way the system's set up. And maybe that's the flaw, but it's something that we should think about and really make sure that we've got a plan going forward for these guys to have something in place before we take it away. That's the last thing I have.
Thank you, Tyler. Anybody else have comments or? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I personally am still on the fence with this. I'd like to see something in place too before we take it away. I'd like it to be very clearly understood that if I vote to take this away, something needs to be in place. All right. I vote in favor of the resolution. think it sounds like majority of us are in favor of it, so.
I think it was 7-3, I think.
I'm abstaining from this.
I abstained as well.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sorry. So that would be 5-3, 2 abstentions.
Well, we're still on the fence then.
Well, it carries, but yeah,
We have 2 abstain and 3 voting no.
you have a 5-3 approval.
Really sad. All right, on to new business. Election of officers. We need to nominate a board chair for 2026 and a vice chair. Any nominations for board chair?
You want to do it again?
Nobody else wants it. I'll be happy to. I'll be here.
That was my question, was have you stay as chair for next year, if you're willing.
Yeah, I can. Sure. Thank you, guys.
Do a good job.
How about vice chair? Any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Commissioner Rick Nye.
Are you ready for it, Rick?
I don't think so.
No, okay. He's declining at this point in time.
Thank you, Tyler.
Can we nominate Tyler? If I'm going to stay in, can Tyler stay in? No.
I could, but there's just some problems with, being on shift and doing Zoom, trying to run a meeting or be a part of a meeting. I think it's probably better for me to not be running meetings from a Zoom call.
Understandable. Anybody else?
I would like to nominate Eric Adman for vice chair.
Eric?
I'll second the nomination.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. We have myself for board chair for next year and Eric Admin.
Thank you both.
On to the projected agenda. We have any projected absences? I will be gone February 19th. I'll try to zoom in, but if I'm still underwater in Cozumel, it's going to be a little difficult.
No, I'll be back in town for that meeting. Apparently I have to be sworn in again.
For the 18th?
For the 18th, yes, I'll be in person.
Okay. Commissioner Admin, you'll still be gone on the 18th?
December 18th, I'll be gone. And I guess I would just ask if we do, sort of considering agendas, I'm going to be out of town through January 2nd. If we do schedule a special meeting to discuss Bothell options, I would just appreciate it if I'm able to attend that meeting. So I don't know.
It's all about you.
If possible.
Let's see what we can do.
As far as
Anybody else?
Good for the next 2. We're in the middle of vacation picks right now, so
Okay.
I'll figure out the rest. So.
All right. A reminder, 101 class on January 17th, Saturday, 9 a.m. Sign up if you are interested. Other than that, it is 6:40, adjourned.